Shalom to everybody online. Shalom to my brothers and sisters in class. Today's lesson is going to be, we're going to be going over Leviticus 11. And I know this is a basic thing, but I wanted to go over this because I know troublous times are coming. And I want us to know the difference between clean and unclean. And when we actually see them and we actually see these animals, and we know, we can understand the characteristics of these animals and make sure that we're eating the right things and pleasing the Most High, even in our troubled times. So, in going through this, getting the understanding of these animals and what makes them clean and unclean, it showed me how beautiful the Most High was and how meticulous he was and how he's like a surgeon. A lot of animals have the same characteristics, but one or two things can make it clean or unclean. And it's so crazy, and we're going to bring that out. And I just want to share that before we get started. So, you just jump to Leviticus 11. And I will be showing videos. I will be asking people questions. And we're going to go from there. So, Shalom, Don, online. So read verse 11, please. Verse 1, excuse me.
This is the book of Leviticus, chapter 11.
And the Lord spake unto Moses and to Aaron, saying unto them, Speak unto the children of Israel, saying, These are the beasts which ye shall eat among all the beasts that are on the earth.
Right.
Whatsoever parteth the hoof and is cloven-footed, and cheweth the cud.
So these animals, you can stop at 3. I want you to reiterate 3 continuously. All right. It must part the hoof, it must be cloven-footed, and it must chew up the cud. What are these 3 characteristics? Let's get into it. I'm going to share my screen. Entire screen. Click on it. Share my audio. Share. There you go. All right. So the Lord said, whatever part of the hoof and is cloven-footed. When I was looking into it, it was kind of stumping me, but I got the understanding. All praise to the Most High. So when we look at sheep, beef, cattle, and horses, the Lord said, whatever part of the hoof and is cloven-footed. Let me read this. The definition of what cloven-footed is, or what part of the hoof is. A cloven hoof is when it's split into 2 and is divided. Do you see on the sheep right down the middle? You can see the split, the division between the animal's foot. That is a cloven foot. And when it says it parteth the hoof, when you look at a cow's foot from the front, it has these are toes. These are 2 separate toes. It must have these 2 separate toes, and it must be split all the way down the middle. That is cloven-footed, and it parteth the hoof. But when you look at the horse has a hoof, but it's not split down the middle. It doesn't part, and it's not cloven-footed. You know, the horse cheweth the cud, but it don't have it. Do you see the difference? The split down the middle, 2, but this is a whole foot. That's the difference. That's where we get the difference from. And just to show you guys, the definition of cloven is split or divided into 2. So once again, these animals must have these characteristics for them to be clean. Cloven-footed, parted the hoof. The hoof is just a toe, and then it shall chew the cud. But what is chewing the cud? Let's break that down. Chewing the cud is when these animals produce a certain type of saliva, and it's called an antacid, which helps buffer the rumen. The rumen is the first digestive tract of these animals. That saliva breaks down the nutrients, helps break down the protein in the stomach. That saliva helps break down their food so they can graze for a longer period of time. So they're collecting, they're eating, and they're storing it in that rumen. When they do that, so that's the first process of chewing the cud. But the second process is when they regurgitate their food. They regurgitate their food when it comes back from the rumen and it sits in their mouth, but it's just they regurgitate it and it sits in their mouth, and it's the protein, it's the nutrition that they need, and then they re-chew it and then they redigest it. So that is an animal that's chewing the cud. And animals that chew the cud, they usually have 2 or 3 stomachs, 4 stomachs, and they will need a rumen, or with certain fowls, or all fowls have gizzards, but that will make the fowl a specific type of fowl. It needs to have that gizzard, but to the land animals like that, they need to have that rumen to make them clean. They regurgitate their food and they don't spit it out. They keep it in their mouth. They re-chew it and they redigest it. That's chewing the cud. Animals have that. Cows have that. Sheep have that. Goats have that. You know, these animals, and I want to show pictures of them just in case, you know, brothers and sisters might get, you know, trapped in the desert somewhere. Who knows? So I have a list of animals. I'm just going to read them off and I'm going to show photos. So this is the antelopes. Very different kinds of antelopes. You can see that. I ain't going to read off their names, but you know, I'm gonna read off some of them. We got the Sunni, we got the Impala, we got the royal antelope, the sable antelope, you know, the Orabine, the springbok antelope. All these antelopes, they are all clean animals. They divide the hoof, they chew off the cud, and they're cloven-footed. These are clean animals that we're allowed to eat. We got the bison. They can get up to 2,000 pounds. They're very huge animals. These are the animals that Esau killed when they came to the Americas. We got the caribou. Very big animals. I'm surprised how the caribous, the mooses, they get huge. Look at those antlers, though. That's wild. Let me know if I'm going too fast. Of course, we got the cow. So now I found out something very interesting. Is it an ox? The ox is the male cow and the cattle is the female cow. So, but the ox he's castrated and he's at a young age before maturity, and then that he still has horns, but he's just a male cow with no testicles, pretty much. That's the difference, but they're still clean. They have all the characteristics of clean animals. Now we have the deer. I've never had deer before, also known as venison, but I've never had deer before, but these animals are clean. These animals are clean to eat. Now, the elk looks similar to the caribou, but they're different animals, just a different species, but they are clean as well. And once again, I'm showing these things just in case jakes get lost in the wilderness or whatever happens. Anything can happen. We don't know where we're going to end up at, but just showing you guys that these are the animals you can eat, that you're allowed to eat. And of course, brothers all across the world as well. You know, in Africa and Europe, wherever you at, you see this video, this is for you. We can eat the giraffe, which I probably wouldn't do if it was on the menu, but that's just me. We're allowed to eat giraffes. They have the characteristics of clean animals. Now, these are gazelles. Gazelles come in a lot of different species as well, but they're clean as well. They be running for their life majority of their time, but they clean to eat. So now we going to the next one. Now, of course, we got the goat. Ratazan told me not to be corny, so I'm not going to do it. This is the goat, a lawful animal, has all 3 characteristics. Now we have the ibex. A lot of these animals, a lot of them, we're not going to see them on Crenshaw and King. That's not going to happen. But when you go to other places like Europe, Africa, or places that have high terrain mountains and whatnot, in Canada, you will see a lot of these animals. But not in California. You're going to see squirrels and possums and stuff. That's just the nature of the city. The next animal, you have a moose. Mooses are clean to eat. Now, mooses are very huge. I was seeing a video yesterday. 2 mooses were fighting, and the wife told the husband to get them. And he was like, what you want me to do with a moose? Like, the moose is as tall as the SUV. They're very huge animals. But, you know, they lawful. We could take them down. We could grill them up. It's just that easy. Now, these are the ox. These are the male cows. These are the males. These are the ones that get castrated. They don't turn into bulls. They're just oxes. You know, they're very used for domestication, to use to what's that, agricultural. But these are just male bulls, male cows. These are lawful to eat as well. Now we have sheep. Sheep and goats. Sheep listen, goats don't. That's why when the Lord said he's going to separate the sheep from the goats, he's going to get the sheep that listen and the goats are going to go into that fire. These are pretty much the same animal, but they're different, but they're both lawful. I didn't go into the characteristics of what makes these animals different, but I know that these animals are clean to eat. So once again, if you find yourself in a dire situation in a far off land in Indiana and you stumble across a reindeer or a sheep or something, you good to go. Now this is the reindeer. Yes, you can eat Rudolph. You know, you could go for it. You know, as long as he ain't got a red nose, you good. But yeah, those are the clean land animals. Those are the characteristics they must have. Parteth the hoof, cloven-footed, and cheweth the cud. Among those beasts, that shall ye eat. These are the animals we can eat. The land animals. So read verse 4 for me, please, sir. And we got the understanding, parteth the hoof, cheweth the cud, and cloven-footed. Cloven-footed is splits into two. Parteth the hoof, their toe has a split down the middle, not all the way through the back, but when you X-ram, that's how I like to look at it. If you X-ram or say you killing them and you looking at their feet, that's how you know it's cloven-footed or part of the hoof. But also let me get that information of why these animals have these characteristics. When the animal parteth the hoof and is cloven-footed, they have that characteristic because it helps them graze more, helps them sprint easier, it helps them distribute the weight throughout their body easier, because a lot of these animals live in high terrains, they live in rocky places. So just imagine stepping on rocks all day, you know, but they have this characteristic that which the Lord gave them to ease out their pain and make it easier on their body so they can do their job easier and provide for us. You know, we ain't got tough meat to eat. So can you read verse 4 for me, please?
Leviticus chapter 11, verse 4.
Uh-huh.
Nevertheless, these shall ye not eat of them that chew the cud, or of them that divide the hoof, as the camel, because he cheweth the cud, but divideth not the hoof, he is unclean unto you.
So the camel chews the cud. The camel has 3 stomachs. The camel is a very resourceful animal. These animals live in desert places with scarce food. These animals can store 15 to 20 gallons of water in their person, you know, but the camel is unclean due to its characteristics of not splitting the hoof. You know, he does chew with the cud. He does regurgitate his food. And he puts it in he keeps it in his mouth and he chews it back down. But the Lord said he divided not the hoof. He is unclean to you. If we look at the camel's foot, it's more of like a pad or a paw. But that's because the terrain he lives in, the places he lives in, he's fit for his place, you know. But the Lord said we can't eat him. A camel might not even taste good at all. I ain't personally. I mean, he unlawful. I ain't gonna eat him. But I know people in the Eastern world they chow down on these things. But also, the Lord gave us these specific animals to eat and not to eat because he knows certain animals are good for labor and some animals aren't. The camel is used for transportation. The camel is used to show a sign of status. You know, you got a camel, you that guy, you know. Now, I mean, you got a Ferrari, you that guy, but in that time, you had a camel, you could go anywhere you want, you know. But just the nature of his foot. He has toes, he has a pad, he has a paw. He's unclean to us. Now, the digestive system, they have 3 stomachs. Let me turn the page. They chew the cud, and they're very resourceful animals because of their environment. They do not split the hoof, and they have paw-like feet, but they do have 3 stomachs. They have 2 ruminants. So once again, the camel, he lives in a very scarce environment where food is very scarce, but the Lord is resourceful, but he's unclean to us. He has 3 stomachs. He could digest food. He regurgitates. He chews the cud. But just because of his feet, his characteristics, unclean. Can't rock with him. Do you mind reading verse 5, please?
Leviticus chapter 11, verse 5.
Okay.
And the coney, because he cheweth the cud, but divided not the, is unclean to you.
Okay, the coney. I was looking up things, and the coney is also known as the hyrex, the rock hyrex. I'm gonna show you what this little ugly guy looks like. He's related. He's a guinea pig related to rabbits, and I'm gonna show you how and why he's related to rabbits, because he has a certain characteristics that rabbits do that make them unclean. The Lord said in the coney, because he cheweth the cud, but divided not the hoof. So when we look at these animals, they have like little paws. This isn't a hoof. This is like a hand, pretty much. And that's unclean to us. When you read later in the chapters, the Lord said tigers, cats, dogs, they all have paws. We're not supposed to eat these. This animal is called a hyrex. It lives in the high mountains. It's an unclean animal. It's unfit for consumption. Not all because of his feet, but also because of the characteristics that he has in his body, which aren't fit for human consumption in his dietary. Let me look at that. Is that the right one? Let me go into this one. Let me go to that one first. So what the hyrex, which also the coney, what they eat on, they eat vegetation, they eat berries, but they also eat poisonous plants, which is very strange. Only reason they're able to eat those poisonous plants is because they have 3 stomachs. Very small animal to have 3 stomachs, but they have it. And that stomach lets them digest that harsh food. It lets them also eat bird eggs and lizards and insects. These animals, also known as hyrex, they're able to do these things, but of course they are unclean because of their characteristics of their feet. But also, I don't want to eat an animal that eat poison. That don't seem too expedient. Even if he was clean, say he had little hooves, I wouldn't want to eat him anyways. You know, you see a little hyrex run through your backyard and he got poison ivy in his mouth, but he clean to eat. I'm good. You know, and also another thing, a lot of people might not see this, but this is what makes them related to rabbits. When their babies are born, their babies don't have a strong enough digestive system to digest food. So what do they eat? The children eat the feces of the adult hyrex to get their protein, to get their nutrition. Saying that's what makes them related. That's what makes them descendants of rabbits. Their children eat the adults' poo, pretty much, which is madness, but this is what they do. This is how they get down. And I want to show another photo just in case you see them. You know, little rodent. Can't even call him Stuart Little. But yeah, just to let y'all know, if y'all out in the world, y'all going camping, we in the end times, you see a little hyrex run across you, you can't have them. Thus saith the Lord. Read that again, huh? Yeah, no hyrex stew. No, none of that. No coney. They're called conies, but when you look up these, the today's language, hyrex, a rock hyrex, conies, they live in high mountains. Read it.
Leviticus chapter 11, verse 5. And the coney, because he cheweth the cud.
He chews the cud. He
but
digests his food properly, but of course his young eat his feces. Keep going.
But divided not the hoof.
He don't divide the hoof. He has paws for hands.
He is unclean unto you.
Right. He's unclean. We can't have no hyrex stew, no hyrex shish kebabs. We can't do none of that. So now you could go to verse 6.
Leviticus chapter 11, verse 6. And the hare, because he chewed the cud, but divided not the hoof, he is unclean.
Okay. So the hare, also known as the rabbit. A lot of people in the South, they eat rabbits. Me personally, I've never had it. I've only had duck once, and that was a mistake. But just the nature of the rabbit, and I was looking into it, and I'm like, rabbits seem harmless, but they're very disgusting animals. A lot of people have them for pets, but just not it. So the things that the Lord said, the hares chew the cud. They do. They have a very strong, they don't eat grass, which is not common knowledge. But the things that they do eat, they eat when they do eat, say they eat vegetation or plants, trees, fruits, like things like that. When they do eat, they're chewing of the cud. They digest it right, but their chewing of the cud is the hare would eat its own feces, just like how the hyrax does or the coney does. That's what makes them related. Now, but how the rabbit does it? The rabbit has two times. I'm gonna let the video show you guys. The animal has a rumen. It has 4 chambers of stomachs, but they also eat their own feces. So remember, if an animal has a rumen, it chews the cud. That's the first pocket of the stomach. It regurgitates the food and it goes through that process. Now I'm gonna show you guys how a rabbit gets down, which is crazy. I never knew this.
That rabbits eat their own feces. This is.
Can y'all hear? Let's see if I can turn it up.
It's actually very common in nature, and it's called coprophagia. Rabbits have 2 kinds of poop. The normal ones during the day and a special night poop called cecotropes. The cecotropes contain important proteins and vitamins that rabbits need to stay healthy. A rabbit owner usually never even sees them, because they consume them right as they are exiting the body. Did you know?
So the video said rabbits have 2 types of poops. The first one is a hard pellet during the day, but at nighttime, it's a very soft, mushy type of feces. And that feces carries nutrition, it carries protein, and it carries things that helps them sustain life. But of course, to us, it's a very disgusting thing, but this is what helps them keep going. They eat their own poo to keep it going. And people usually don't see those green soft pellets because right when it comes out, they eat it. They eat right from their own anus, which is wild. On top of all that, its feet. Its feet are unclean. Look at it. He got little paws as well. The Most High is very meticulous. He's not parting the hoof. He's not he's not cloven-footed. He has a paw. And once again, because they live in certain areas, or just how the Most High made them, their nature is not for us to be eaten. I wouldn't even want him as a pet. Little man eating his own poo, that's crazy. So now we could go to verse 7 and 8, please.
Leviticus chapter 11, verse 7.
Uh-huh.
And the swine, though he divide the hoof and be cloven-footed, yet he cheweth not the cud, he is unclean to you. Of their flesh shall ye not eat, and their carcass shall ye not touch. They are unclean to you.
So the Lord said the swine, though he divide the hoof and be cloven-footed, so the pig has 2 of the 3 characteristics that make an animal clean, but he doesn't chew up the cud. The pig is, how I like to explain him, he is the human garbage disposal of the earth. He eats whatever you put in front of him. It could be a dead rat. It could be, I believe pigs don't eat themselves, but it could be whatever. Rotten fruit, anything that you think it could be of disposal, give it to, what's the pig's name? Charlotte? Give it to Charlotte. Give it to her. Look, somebody get got. You give it to a pig. Evidence is gone. That's how vile and inhumane these animals are. They are the garbage disposal of the earth. They are very filthy animals, and they eat everything but themselves. So just imagine a old fish carcass, a rat, anything. You want water? So now we're going to go into some facts about the pig. And also, they're carnivores and omnivores. Carnivores are meat eaters, but omnivores, they get down where they can. They get down where they can. Let's start from the top. This is a website. It says the dark side of pork, 10 reasons to ditch bacon and ham. And to all my brothers and sisters out there, bacon, ham, pork, those are all the same things. I know I got a 10-tribe brother at my job, and I believe I told y'all this already, but I'm gonna say it again. He offered me sliced ham on a pizza, and I was like, "Oh, brother, no, I don't eat pork." And he was like, "Oh, that's not pork, that's ham." I said, "Damn, brother." And I couldn't even be mad at him. I'm like, "Damn, just our people are destroyed." It's the same animal. It's just processed differently. So ham, pork, bacon, carnitas, chicharrones, all that. That all comes from little one. Some tamales is clean. The place by my job, they serve clean tamales. You know, shout out to the 10 tribe across the street. So the pigs, they have nasty eating habits. This is from mobarak.medium.com. It says 10 nasty eating habits. Pigs are known for eating their own feces as well as the feces of other animals. This means that they are consuming toxins that are meant to be excreted. Additionally, pigs naturally feed on dead carcasses and scraps, which can contain maggots, parasites, microbes, and disease-transmitting bacteria. So imagine you eating a bacon sandwich and your pig just got done with a pile of feces. Guess what you eating? You eating feces. You eating what little John just had. And another thing on top of them, they have basic digestive system. They have I believe it's a monogastric system, which is they only have one stomach, one small intestine, one large intestine. They have digestive system just like us as humans, but they're supposed to be animals, and people think they're fit to consume. No, we're not even supposed to eat each other, but people be taking down little Harriet, which is crazy. It says the digestive system of pigs is not complex enough to excrete all the toxin it consumes. As a result, many toxins remain in their bodies and are stored as fatty tissues. That little white cap around the bacon, that's full of toxins and bacteria and parasites. Around your pork chops, that little fat piece, that's what you eating. Man, I know my family, man, I'm not even gonna get into it. This means that when humans consume pork, they may also be consuming these toxins. We're not gonna read all of them. I did want to read, specific ones that I found very interesting. We also know that, due to the pigs eating whatever and not being able to secrete those toxins and those parasites out, it can also pass down flus and viruses to humans off of consumption or off of touch or just being around them. It says pigs harbor common viruses. In addition to the H1N1 and the H3N2, pigs can carry other viruses that are transmittable to humans, including hepatitis E virus, porcine reproductive and respiratory syndrome, PRRS, Nipah virus, meningovirus, and pneumonia, which is crazy. So these animals, you consuming them on your burger, on your sandwich, and you might end up getting got because you want to enjoy a bacon sandwich, but the Lord said they're not clean to us. I was talking to a sister, and she said, I love pork, I love bacon, I love carnitas. And I'm like, but the Most High said you can't eat them. She said, I know, but it's just so good. And I'm like, damn, like, what about your salvation? What about your health? What about your reproductive system? A lot of our people get hypertension and these bad diseases that get our legs cut off, they get our arms cut off, that have us lose our vision. I work at a place where the deaf and blind comes and learns how to live. A lot of our people say, oh, it's because of diabetes. Oh, it's because I was doing this. Oh, it's because I was doing that. A lot of them are 10 tribe. It's sad that our people don't learn or have discontinued from the Most High. And the Most High can save your life. Literally, he can save you from losing your leg. Put the shrimp down. Put the bacon down. It's just that simple. You know, don't pick up the coney. Don't pick up the Hyrex. You know, eat a chicken. You know, have some turkey. Have some beef. I know brothers stay away from the beef because of the madness in the world, but it's better than eating swine. But we're going to go into it. Like I said, the pigs have one digestive system. It's just like us. They got an esophagus, they got a stomach, they got a small intestine, they got a gallbladder, they got a liver, they have saliva glands, you know, they have a pancreas, and then they have, of course, the backside, the anus. But that's it. They don't have the rumen, they don't have the 3 stomachs, they don't have the 4 stomachs, they don't chew the cud. They just devour what's ever in front of them blindly. So now we're gonna get into what pigs can eat. It says the bulk of their diet, corn and soybeans, corn and soybeans, energy and provide protein. They also eat other grains like wheat, sorghum. Farmers may add the supplements to ensure their hogs get necessary nutrition. They also eat that, but they also eat whatever you throw in front of them. I saw a video, and the next video is going to show you that. It's going to be kind of wild, but I want to show you guys anyways. But they can eat whatever you want, you throw in front of them. I was seeing, I believe it was a Hawaiian guy. He threw a dead rat, a dead carcass. The carcass had to be at least a week old of a fish, rotten fruit. He threw everything in front of them. They were just picking and choosing, eating everything. Bones, flesh, dead flesh. They're carnivores. They're omnivores. They get in where they fit in. And a lot of these animals get in where they fit in. And I wanted to make the distinction. The Most High gave us animals that aren't scavengers, that aren't bottom dwellers. He gave us animals that can pretty much live on their own, that can eat grass, that can just live off of the earth. You know, he doesn't give us detestable things to eat. The Most High is very gracious with that. He could have gave us the pig, and a lot of us could have been just walking around done like we are now, you know, but let's keep it pushing. So this is the video of a pig eating its own feces, or the feces from another pig. I'm gonna show it. We ain't gonna show the whole thing, but I'm gonna do it.
This pig is eating it.
He's smacking and all that. That's wild. And people say, especially the GMO man, he make it kosher. How can you make that kosher?
How can you make sure he don't eat his own poop?
Right. He hungry in the middle of the night. It's 2:00 in the morning, and he got to use the restroom. He gonna eat it up. Like, that's wild. That's wild. People really defend that and say it's good. How can an animal that eats his own feces is good for you? That's wild. I'm sorry. I mean, look, we already put down the pork, but just imagine that. You out to the zoo with your family, you at the farmer's market, and you see a little pig chomping on some poo. That's wild. But then later he gets processed up, and then he's on your neighbor's plate, which is crazy. But you can keep going out. If you have anything to say, you're more than welcome. If not, can you read verse 9 and 10, please? And also want to share something with the chat. I don't know if I can send it to you, Iram. But can you read verse 9 and 10, please?
Okay, I did want to say something.
Bring it up.
So I used to always wonder how people got pink eye. Because pink eye, it says you can get it from like having like feces on your hands.
Right.
Like people who don't wash their hands. Because it's more specifically the bacteria or the virus that are in feces. And I wonder if you eating pork can give you pink eye. Like they're eating their feces, you know what I'm saying?
Cooking that swine. Going on.
9 and 10.
Yes, please. But then, that's a good point. You could get you get feces in your eye that could create pink eye, but the animal, eats feces and now it's in his body and you eating and you touching, you preparing it, even after it's cooked, it still could be in there. Now I know some of these chefs say, oh, cook it to a certain degrees, but a parasite is a parasite, a bacteria is a bacteria. You know, these things been around longer before us. You know, but you could keep reading out.
Chapter 9 and 10.
9 and 10, please.
Leviticus chapter 11, verse 9. These shall ye eat of all that are in the waters. Whatsoever hath fins and scales in the waters, in the seas, and in the rivers, them shall ye eat.
Okay, so the Lord is giving us specific type of fish. Now, I do have a list of fish that are clean. I keep it in my on my phone always, but I will send that to Iram. And Iram, if you could, can you send it, drop it in the chat so everybody can have it, just so they can know what's clean and unclean. And when you going out in the world, of course, I didn't get the photos because there would be hundreds on hundreds, but just, you know, I'm gonna read some of them off just so you can know off the top of your head and maybe memorize them. We can have whiting, we can have tuna, we can have yellowtail, we can have yellowtail snapper, we can have red snapper, we can have pollock, we can have, which sounds crazy, but we can have pigfish, we can have moonfish, we can have marlin, we can have mackerel, you know, we can have lake herring, we can have the jewfish. You know, I sent the link to Iram, Lord willing, he could post it in the chat. We can have haddock, we can have flounder, we can have all these type of animals that have fins and scales. You know, can you also post it on YouTube, Iram? Thank you. But let's get into what makes the animal fins and scales be so precious. It says scales are used for protection, much like our fingernails, rather than protecting just like a little part of the fish bodies. The scales help protect the fish skin from being cut by sharp objects. So that's one level of protection on the scales. But then on top of the scales, fishes have a coat of slime that protects them from parasites and bacteria. And then the fish have fins to maneuver through the ocean, to be agile, to do what they need to do. The Lord don't give us lazy animals to consume. He gives us proactive animals that, you know, pretty much run for their lives, pretty much. But those characteristics, having the fins and the scales to protect them from punctures, the scales to fend them off from poachers, and the slime on top of the scales to protect them from parasites and bacteria that dwells in the ocean, and also from other animals. But like the catfish, it's a very slimy animal. It's going to have that slime, but it's not going to have those scales for protection. And catfish got all types of nastiness in the things that they eat. It just goes on top of that as well. But we're going to get into that. Can you read verse 10? From 10 to 11, please.
Leviticus chapter 11, verse 10. And all that have not fins and scales in the seas and in the rivers, of all that move in the waters, and of any living thing which is in the waters, they shall be an abomination unto you. They shall be even an abomination unto you. Ye shall not eat of their flesh, but ye shall have their carcasses in abomination. Whatsoever hath no fins nor scales in the waters, that shall be an abomination unto you.
So it needs to have both of these characteristics, both of them, for them to be lawful to eat. Shrimp don't have that. Crustaceans, shellfish, these animals don't have fins and scales. That makes them unclean. A lot of fishes, a catfish, what else? An angler, a billfish, a blowfish, a catfish, a cutlass fish, eels, swordfish, sharks, octopus, you know, whales, pufferfish, oilfish, monkfish. All these fishes are unclean. They do not have fins and scales. But we're going to focus on the animals that our people love to eat, such as crustaceans, shrimps, prawns, crabs, lobsters, mussels, mollusks, clams, oysters, octopus, squid, abalone, snail. I ain't never had no snail. That's wild. You asked Nell before? Yeah, that's tough. So, where am I at on this? Next page. That's not my cup of tea. That's not it. Even if you throw them in butter and some sauce, I'm good. So it says, all these animals that I just named are bottom feeders. Once again, the Most High is not giving us bottom feeders. He's not giving us scavengers. He's giving us animals that can produce for themselves, and then we catch them and we do our thing with it. These animals are bottom feeders. These animals feed on parasites and dead skin that they pick off of dead animals that float to the bottom or to their region. Also, when you consume these animals that eat parasites, that eat algae, that eat animals that their dead skin is, a shark gets killed and a whale gets killed and shrimps are eating all that dead skin, that blubber, all those things that fall to the bottom of the ocean. That's nasty. People really think that's a delicacy. You're eating a roach that lives in the water. A lot of people run from roaches, but you're gonna cook up his cousin, which is wild. But a lot of these animals, a lot of shellfishes are high in metal due to their environment, and they're also high in mercury. But humans can't excrete heavy metal from their system. So when you're eating shrimp, crab, lobster, octopus, squid, you're taking in all these metals that are bad for us, and we cannot get them out of our body. So what happens? We get organ failure, we get hypertension, we get things that can kill us. We get brain failure, our heart might stop working, our reproductive system might stop working, all because you want to have a po' boy every day of your life, which is mad. But all these animals, these shellfish animals, the Lord said if they don't have fins and scales, we cannot eat them. But our people dive into it and they make it a delicacy. And I understand why, but we have to come out of this curse. We have to come out of this misunderstanding. So, let me get that out of here. And once again, they are bottom dwellers. They feed on parasites and they feed off skin of dead animals. And just because you clean them and you wash them, that don't mean those things are gone. I know somebody cracked open the tail of a lobster and put it under a microscope. There's so many things moving in that mug. It's ridiculous. After they cooked it. You seen that? It's so much, but then you dip it in butter and you consume it. I got the bread. Nah, bro, you got the death. That's what you got. That's not expedient, bro. But now I need to jump into I need to show. No, that's not it. No, that's not it. That's what I wanted to. Okay, can you read verse 13, please?
Leviticus chapter 11, verse 13. And these are they which ye shall have in abomination among the fowls.
So a fowl is a bird, wings, bill, duck, these characteristics. Go for it.
They shall not be eaten. They are an abomination. The eagle, the ostrich.
Okay, my bad. Just read that first part before you get to the animals. Read it again, please.
And they are they which ye shall have in abomination among the fowls.
Okay, so among the fowls, and we're gonna get into the animals later, but I found this last night, and I found this to be very magnificent and interesting. Please forgive me for my pronunciation. I've been trying to get it right all night. So it's zygodactyl foot. So it says this unique foot can be found on woodpeckers, owls, most parrots, and other birds. It is the second most common toe arrangement. In this foot, the first and the fourth digit face backwards, while the second and the third digit face towards. So their foot is like that. I've been trying to get it right with my fingers. I'm not gangbanging nobody. I'm just trying to show y'all an example. It's like these are their toes. When they grab things, they sit like that. When they grab things, they sit like that. When they sit on top of things, their feet are like that instead of like this. But it's very common, and maybe a bad example for the presentation, but it says in this, the first and the fourth. So these two digits, this one and that one, they will be facing the back. And then the third and the second digit, these toes will be facing the front, looking like a spider, low key. And a lot of animals have this. And this function will make a bird unclean. But like Google says, this is the second most common toe arrangement. So a lot of birds are unclean, and we're going to get into it. But I wanted to share this before we got into it, because what a lot of these animals, the owl, the ostrich, they differ slightly. But the thing that really makes them unclean is the toes and their eating habits. But can you read that again before you get into the birds? One more time, please, sir.
13 again.
Uh-huh.
Leviticus chapter 11, verse 13.
Uh-huh.
And these are they which ye shall have in abomination among the fowls.
Okay.
They shall not be eaten.
Okay, so I was looking at research, and I was looking up the difference between a clean bird and an unclean bird. And a clean bird, they're foragers, and they are not birds of prey or scavengers. A forager is something that will be digging through the ground, eating grain, eating worms. You know, they're not going to be eating off of other people's food. They're not going to be from the sky swooping down and grabbing things off the ground. We eat foragers. They will also have a craw or a crops. Have you noticed that the chicken has the little double chin? That's a craw or a croap. This is an enlarged esophagus to store food temporarily. And once again, a clean animal needs to have all these characteristics. Just like in verse 3, they need to part the hoof, cloven-footed, and chew of the cud. These animals need to be foragers. They need to have a craw, and they also need to have a gizzard. All birds have gizzards. I was looking up, I was just double checking that, but all birds have gizzards no matter what. But in the function of the gizzard, since birds don't have teeth, their gizzard, it's like their teeth. It crunches everything down, and it makes it go down into another stomach, and then it starts to digest it. But it's like its teeth. That's what the gizzard is. And once again, just compared to this one, it says they have 3 front toes with an elongated middle toe and a hind toe. So just like how our fingers are, our middle finger is usually longer than the rest of our fingers. So that's how the chicken will be, the turkey will be. Their middle toe will be the longest, and then my thumb will be their back toe. It will sit in the back. That will make the animal clean. That middle toe is the elongated one, and it's the longest one out of all of them. And the most important thing, which I think a lot of people will think it's a minor thing, but just thinking about it, the nature of the animal, clean birds, they bring their food to the ground and they divide it with their bills, if possible, before eating. So you know how raccoons, they wash their food, but turkeys, chickens, quails, they separate their food with their beaks and then they eat. A lot of unclean animals, they devour their food in the air. They press down on it with their foot, and then they tear and rip flesh off of it. That will make them a prey. They would make them a bird of prey. They're predators. That is an unclean animal. They press down on their food. They tear the flesh. They kill it, of course. That'd be a crazy way to kill things. But they eat it midair. Some animals even throw it in the air and just like somebody catching a grape, which is wild. But this is what they do. And they have this specific toe, this specific foot. It's made to go to the back, to go to the front. It's made to hold things down. It's made to, like, you grab a slippery fish, it's going to be moving and whatnot. Their feet are like hands, and they're made to hold things down. These unclean fowls, they're made to hold things down and to rip flesh from the body. That's what will make them unclean. But everything else will be a clean characteristic of a clean bird. Now, unclean birds, before we get into the fowls, they will be birds of prey. They will also have the characteristics of being a carrion. A carrion is a bird that eats decaying flesh. So like vultures, eagles, hawks. These birds are carrions. They eat decaying flesh. A wildebeest could be sitting in the savannah for a week. That bird's gonna come and get him a piece. That thing could be sitting there for a week, but he gonna get his. That's a carrion. Look out for those birds. And then a ratty bird. It is a flightless bird. It makes them flightless because they lost the muscle from their sternum to the wing. They lost that muscle, what makes them not be able to fly. Those are unclean birds as well. So say if dodos were still alive, we couldn't get them. Webbed foot, and then also zygodactyl foot. Those will make those animals unclean. A webbed foot, because those are primarily water animals, and a lot of water animals dive their head underwater to get their food, to get their plants, to get their vegetation. That's not a forager. That's a scavenger. They dive their head underwater and they're swimming on the water. That will make them unclean, and that will make them a waterfowl. So now we got that out of the way. Just want to let y'all know that a lot of these animals have those characteristics. I'm going to ring them off, show you what they look like, just in case, once again, you're in the wilderness, you're on the east side of the world, you see an eagle. Just because you're hungry don't mean you can eat it. So let's get into it. We're going to get into it. I got you. Verse 13 and then read 14, please.
Leviticus chapter 11, verse 13. And these are they which ye shall have an abomination among the fowls. They shall not be eaten. They are an abomination. The eagle, the ostrich, and the osprey, and the vulture, and the kite after his kind.
Okay, so the eagle, we all know that this is the America symbol. I ain't gonna sit up in front. It's a beautiful bird. You know, it looks like a very powerful bird. But the eagle is a bird of prey. It sits up high, has very sharp vision. It can see miles away, and it's just its nature and how the Most High made it. It's a killer. It's literally a killing machine. They're carnivores. They are birds of prey, and they pretty much eat anything they see.
Even stuff bigger than them.
Hey, if they could get their hands on it, them little talons. Yeah, excuse me, you right. They ain't little. They get them talons on you. You leave your chihuahua outside, it's a wrap. Say goodbye to Tito, because bro gone. And they kill their animals midair. They pick them up and they squeeze they claws into them, and they die midair. Then they go get on a tree, plant their foot against them, and tear their food apart.
Or they drop them so they'll die from the impact.
You stab me, don't drop me, bro. I ain't gonna lie. That ain't no way to die. I'm sorry. Dropping you gotta look at the ground. Hell nah. But to go forward, they eat rabbits, they eat hares, other medium land animals. They also eat other birds, and as well, they also eat carrion. So if they see, a rodent they see a rodent get ran over, they gonna come and get them a piece, even if it's been 3-4 days old. It's been in the hot sun. They gonna come and get them a piece. These are one of the top of the food chain land animals. Fowls. They get down. They fly very fast. They descend very fast. They're literally birds of prey. They're at the top of the food chain when according to fowls. Now, the next one. Let me see. Can you read that again? Verse 13, the later half after eagle.
Leviticus chapter 11, verse 13. And the ostrich
and the eagle and the ostrich. So the ostrich, I was looking it up and it came up as a different name. It came up as the bearded vulture. Now this bad boy, he's different. Now we know vultures are scavengers. Vultures, 99% of vultures never kill an animal. Never. They wait for things to die and then they grub. How I like to look at vultures, they are the garbage cans of the sky. They come out and clean up. You better not die in the savannah because they coming. I'm talking to us. But the bearded vulture, he's different from the other vultures. He has a different component of eating. This bad boy does not eat meat at all. He only eats the bones. He eats the marrow. He does not touch the meat of the carcass. And that's crazy. Yes, they're unclean, but and I'm looking at this bird. And I'm like, the Most High is beautiful because he's giving life and he's taking it and he's leaving no sign of it. You know, the Lord said, from the dust you're born, the dust you shall go back. The vulture, the bearded vulture, the ostrich eats the bones, the other vultures eat the meat, and it's completely gone. The parasites get it, you're back into the dirt. But that's a very good characteristic of the ostrich. I just want to show you guys what it looks like. Oh, wow. Look at him. Oh, he do got a little goatee. I see why they call him the bearded vulture. He got a little goatee. Boy, he look crazy. Nice color, but yeah. You see this? You see him flying, and they flying above you because they know you finna drop. You see them, you better get some strength, boy. I'm telling you, because you don't want to be the next victim. All right, so can you pick up from eagles and then read ostrich and then read the next animal, please?
It's the book of Leviticus, chapter 11, verse 13. The eagle and the ostrich and the osprey.
The osprey. So this animal is a raptor. A raptor is a type of bird of prey. They are smaller than eagles, but they're in a different subclass. These bad boys, they usually only eat fish. I want to show you what these bad boys look like. You see them talons? That fish, boy. Come on. That fish, and he's finished. But these bad boys, they usually only eat fish, but they also say they not catching no fish. They also eat reptiles. They also eat snakes. They eat frogs and they eat crustaceans. They pretty much get whatever they can. They're hawks. They're raptors. They're birds of prey. They prey on other animals, and this is how they get down. This is what they live like. So, you know, if you see an osprey, once again, can't have him. You know, he looked like a little velociraptor, the little one. You know, I'm a fan of Jurassic Park. Very good series. But we go to the next precept. Can you read verse 14, please?
Leviticus chapter 11, verse 14.
Uh-huh.
And the vulture and the kite after his kind.
So the vulture, we know the vulture is a scavenger. I believe everybody had an understanding of that before we even talked about that. But these birds do not kill. They wait until the wildebeest drops. They wait until the lion drops. They wait till the hyena drops. You know, they wait until the man and the woman drops, and they coming in packs and they fighting over that food. You know, these birds also eat carrion. They are scavengers. They do not care. He looked like a bat, and these birds get very big. They really don't mess with humans. They only mess with things that are dead, honestly. But they eat carrion. They are eaters of dead flesh, rotting flesh, and they do not kill people. They don't hurt people unless you're dead. So the next one is the kite. Let me show. And the kite has it's a broad thing of birds. We have the white-tailed kite, we have the black kite, we have the Alanus, we have the Mississippi kite, we have the snail kite, we have the red kite, the hook-billed kite. Like, it's a bunch of them. But the thing about them, they're raptors as well. Let me go to the photo so I can show you guys what they look like. You know, let me get a good one. Get a face profile. You see how his feet are? You see how the two are in the front and the two are in the back? That's an unclean animal, and he's a bird of prey. He eats anything. Look at him. He probably about to go get something right now. That's that serial killer look. But it says these animals, they're raptors, which are birds of prey, and they eat a lot of insects. They eat frogs, they eat toads, they eat snakes, they eat bats, they eat rodents, and smaller birds. People will compare them to eagles. They're just smaller. And kites as well, they also eat carrion. They eat decaying flesh once again. So can you read that one more time, Deshaun? Verse 14.
Leviticus chapter 11, verse 14. And the vulture and the kite after his kind.
The Most High said after his kind because there's so many different species of kite. You know, they come in all different colors and sizes and wingspans and areas of living, but these animals are birds of prey. They're carnivores. They get in where they fit in. They primarily eat fish, but they also eat rodents, rats, toads, frogs, other smaller birds. One more time, give y'all guys a look at it, and then we're gonna go to the next precept. Actually, let's just go to one of them, see what a different one looks like. Oh yeah, not a fan. So we're gonna close that up. Can you read verse 15, please?
Leviticus chapter 11, verse 15. Every raven after his kind.
So ravens, how I look at ravens, they are the thugs of the air. That's how I look at them. They're bullies. Ravens are known to attack eagles, you know, but eagles just, of course, fly up high and come and grab them. But they the thugs on the block. If you want to look at it like that, they're the thugs on the block. Most they're really omnivores and they feed on everything. They get in where they fit in. Ravens get in where they fit in. They're omnivores. They will feed on small mammals like bird eggs and berries. And they also consume carrion, which is decaying flesh. But the thing about ravens, they will also travel to human landfills and feast, which is wild. But they do that. So, and ravens can be very aggressive when you get next to their nest. They're going to come and get with you. You see? What is that? I don't know what that is, but he about to chew. He about to get it. He about to get ready. And once again, all birds have gizzards, so they can eat what they want. It's going to go to the gizzard. It's going to break it down, and it's going to go to the next stomach. But these animals are unclean. They eat all types of carrion. They eat diseased flesh. This is the raven. I believe crows are smaller. You know, and after his kind, I'm pretty sure crows are unclean as well. That's their cousin.
A raven is a large, heavily built crow.
Yeah,
chiefly feeding on carrion.
Yeah, so they the same peoples. They unclean. We can't have them. So once again, you out and about, and we in Jacob's trouble, and you see a raven, and you hungry. That's too bad. Can't have them. Thus saith the Lord. So, verse 16, please. Now, this is where it gets interesting. This is where, and me personally, I enjoyed doing this lesson. It took me some time, but I enjoy doing it. And Lord willing, y'all gain information from this.
Leviticus chapter 11, verse 16. And the owl.
And the owl. So owls are they come in all types of varieties. You know, the Lord talks about, I believe, 3 or 4 different owls just in this, in the Levitical law. But owls, they're carnivores. They eat mice, rats, frogs, birds, squirrels, snakes, fish, lizards. But the thing about the owl, once again, his 2 feet, he has 2 in the front and 1 in the back. When he grabs things or when he sits on perches, he sits down like that, you know, which is an unclean characteristic of an unclean bird. But the owl swallow its prey whole. It kills them, and then he just swallows all of them, which is crazy, but they're able to do that. And once again, owls don't have teeth. They have a gizzard, of course, they're a bird, but the thing about owls that makes them different from other animals, that they can't digest fur, teeth, and bones. So what happens with them is that when they kill their animal and they swallow it whole, they spit that back up. And like how a cat does a hairball, that's how it will come out looking like. It will come out looking like a hairball of fur, teeth, and bones, which is crazy. But just to show you guys right here, they often swallow their prey whole. Since the owl's bodies can't digest fur, bones, and teeth, These pieces are later regurgitated or coughed up as small oval objects known as owl pellets, just like cat coughs up hairballs. So that's how they get down. And I'm gonna show a picture of an owl. And there's one owl that just blew my mind, how it is, the characteristics of it. But these things, you know, they're birds of prey as well. Look at him. Boy, imagine that. Walking your little chihuahua and you see him staring. That's tough. All right, so you ready to go to the next one? So what's after owl, Ak?
And the nighthawk.
Okay, so the nighthawk. The name can be deceiving. The nighthawk is an insecticide. It's an insectivore. It primarily eats bugs, insects, beetles, moths, grasshoppers, and many others. But the thing about them, they don't stop and eat. They grab it on the go. You know, they're a drive-through pretty much. They do not stop. They eat their animals in the air. They eat the insects in the air, and that will be an unclean thing because we read over it earlier. Animals that aren't foragers, they're just eating things on the fly, throwing things in the air, swallowing them, holding them down, tearing their food apart. Those are unclean birds. And this nighthawk, and it's not a hawk, which is crazy. I was looking that up last night because I was like, damn, it's a nighthawk. Nights are birds of prey, but this animal isn't a bird of prey. He's not a bird of prey, but he does have an uncharacteristic trait of unclean birds, which makes him unclean. These animals, the fowls need to have all clean characteristics. If they're missing one, they're finished. Just like how Leviticus 3, once again, parteth the hoof, cloven-footed, and cheweth the cud. They need to have all three. So now this next one, I know we said ravens are the thugs of the air, but this bad boy, the raven ain't got nothing on him, honestly. Can you read what the next one is, Ak?
And the cacao.
And the cacao. This animal, he eats large insects, caterpillars, katydids, cicadas, grasshoppers. But the thing about this animal, has anybody heard of a brood parasite, a brood parasitism? Anybody heard of that? No? No bueno? All right. A brood parasitism is this bird, when they're pregnant, when the woman is pregnant, they go lay their eggs in another bird's nest and they leave that bird to raise their children. And they leave, which is wild. I say these are the deadbeat birds of the kingdom. That's what I say. And there's many birds like that, but I'm wondering, like, why do they do that? They have kids and they drop them off at somebody else's house and they leave to never be seen again. That's wild. Let me show you what they look like. Oh, deadbeats. He looked like a pigeon. But you see his feet, y'all? He got that characteristic as well. That makes him unclean. He got 2 to the front and 2 to the back. Forgive me for that word, but you know the word I'm trying to say. What is it? The zygodactyl, the footed bird. He has 2 to the front, 2 to the back, but also he's a brood parasite. He has babies and he leaves them to other birds, which is wild. But why do they do that? It says brood parasitism is an evolutionary strategy that relieves the parasitic parents from the investment of rearing young and building nests from young by getting the host to raise their young for them. So they are deadbeat parents, but they do that so they can go live on their own and they can have more children. That's exactly why they do it. And there's a lot of birds that do this, but these birds, they wildin', the cacaos. That's why the Lord, of course, because of the feet, but I like to think the Most High don't want us eating no deadbeat bird. Honestly. So the next bird will be the hawk. Now, there's many types of hawks. You know, they come in all shapes and fashions. They come in different sizes. But the thing about the hawks are strictly carnivores. They will eat any animal smaller than it, no matter what it is. The hawks have very good eyesight. And once again, they hold their animal, they herd their prey down, and they rip the flesh apart. Let's look at that. Boom, just like that. That looked like a rabbit. The hawks are strictly carnivores. They don't eat no plants, no veggies, no salads. They don't eat none of that. I wanted to say something, but that would have been crazy. They will eat animals smaller than it. Any animal which will make them a bird of prey. That this will make the animal a bird of prey. They eat only carnivores. They swoop down and they kill things. They hold their prey down and they devour them. Also, hawks really don't eat carrion. They tend to eat it more in the wintertime when food is hard to find. So when it's hard to find and they see something that's been under the ice, that's been chilling for a minute, they go and grab it. But they usually don't eat those types of animals. They don't eat dead flesh because they are apex predators as well. They're like eagles, but they're smaller. You know, they're hawks. And a lot of them live in the city, especially around schools. My father's a custodian, and he says he sees them, a mother and a father, always by the trash can because there's rodents running by, and they see them swooping them up, dropping them. The other one catching them, throwing them on the ground. Like they live in pairs. They're birds of prey, and they nothing to mess with. So once again, we're gonna be out in the wilderness. We're gonna be trying to survive. And you hungry and you see a little hawk, can't have them. It's just that simple. You know, we can't have the raven, we cannot have the owl, we cannot have the nighthawk, we cannot have the cacao, and we cannot have the hawk. These animals are birds of prey. They eat their food in the air. They have specific type of feet, type of talons that are unclean. They have unclean characteristics. So now I'm going to have to dig into the email. What's that, verse 17? Hold on. Okay, little owl. Okay, you go for it.
Leviticus chapter 11, verse 17. And the little owl and the cormorant.
So the little owl is also called the elf owl. It is being the smallest owl in the world. Let me show you a little picture of it. Little man. I want to say he looked like somebody, but I don't want to be rude. But the little owl, also known as the elf owl, being the smallest owl in the world, living on the east side of the world. He lives in Europe, lives in Africa, you know, in Asia. He lives on the east side of the world. You really won't see him in America unless somebody smuggles him over here. But don't be deceived by his feet. I mean, by his size. They're still carnivores. They still eat birds. They are categorized as birds of prey. And like I said, owls, mockingbirds, they have that two and two type footing. They also eat mice, rats, moles, rabbits, and any amphibians, reptiles, and also other birds. So these bad boys, even though they're the smallest owls, you can look them up. They're also called elf owls, but these are bad boys. Owls ain't nothing to play with. I'm really looking at it like they not worse than eagles and hawks, but they up there. You know, they birds of prey. They don't play. They don't get around. So now we're gonna go to the next joint. So the next one will be cormorant. So this one probably gave me the hardest time because it was just hard to get information on them. So the cormorant, first and foremost, it's a webbed-foot bird. So it's an aquatic bird. Yes, they can fly, but they do majority of their hunting in the water. They dunk their heads under the water and find their prey. And also when they do find their prey, you see photos like this. Homeboy swallowing them whole. Ain't chewing. Like off of Finding Nemo, that what was that, a pelican? They lied. Them fishes would have been gone. Nemo would have been lost forever. So yeah, the cormorant, he is an unclean bird. This bird submerges his body underwater to find its food. Clean birds don't do that. Clean birds don't have webbed feet. These bad boys are web-footed. They submerge themselves underwater. They swallow their food whole. You know, of course, it goes down to the gizzard, but that will make them unclean. You know, what's after that? And after this one, this is probably the one that I had the most time looking at. The most interesting bird that I saw. Oh, excuse me. Before we get into that, this is the cormorant's feet. Yeah. Webbed foot. They're not ducks. I mean, it looked like a bat, but they're web-footed animals. They're aquatic animals. These animals are not fit for human consumption. He swallows his food. He swallows his food. The animal dives his body underwater to get its prey. The Most High, he don't want us dealing with these type of animals. So, the next bad boy. So, the great owl. This animal is the biggest owl in the world. I believe I showed you guys earlier. I want to get a good photo. And there's a lot of different species of this bad boy. We're going to use this one because this is what we're going to talk about. The great owl, also known as the great horned owl. This owl is unique. It's a raptor, making it a bird of prey. This owl eats rats, mice, rabbits, squirrels, possums, snakes, also eats birds, geese, duck, hawks, even other owls. This bad boy don't play. He's at the top of the food chain. He also eats carrion. He eats the decaying flesh. And I saw an interview. People were getting the sounds of the wings that the birds make. Like what they would put microphones under the birds and they would have them fly across it. And every bird, a pigeon, a hawk, they all made noises beside the owls. So just imagine you're a little rat running in the field and you don't hear the person that's going to eat you coming up behind you, which is wild. But what makes this animal very unique? You see these big yellow eyes? They do not move at all. They sit in its socket and they do not move. Of course, they blink, but these eyes don't move from the time they're born to the time they die. They're stuck in place. But the thing that does move is their head. Their head rotates 270 degrees to see their animals, to see their prey with precise vision, and they come and kill. But these animals are crazy. And once again, owls do swallow their prey whole. But these animals, when I was looking this up, I was just amazed. But that's crazy. Their eyes do not move at all. They stare at you like that and they come and get you. And this is called the great owl, also known as the great horned owl. You see these little ears? They look like horns, I guess, to people's understanding. But this will be an unclean animal. The feet, the way it eats, the way it lives, unclean, not fit for consumption. Okay, now we're going to the aquatic animals. Can you give me verse 18, please? Hold on, let me get this real quick. Okay.
It's the book of Leviticus, chapter 11, verse 18. And the swan, and the pelican, and the gear eagle.
Okay, so the swans, they are waterfowls. They're web-footed, so that's automatically disqualified. We cannot eat them. But swans are herbivores. Herbivores are things that primarily eat, not fish. They eat grass life. You know, they eat aquatic plants. They eat leafy greens. They eat grass. Primarily being herbivores. Sometimes they do go on the land and they eat grasshoppers. little caterpillars. They eat things like that. But primarily their diet is an herbivore. Now, what makes them unclean as well, on top of them having a webbed foot, these animals would dive underwater. They will put their head underwater, put their body underwater to get their plants that their main diet is accustomed to. So that being said, the webbed foot, the diving underwater, I believe swans can fly, but just in general, these bad boys are aquatic animals. The Most High don't have us eating aquatic animals. They're unclean to us, And so the swan, let me show you what you guys look like. Let me show you what it looks like. Pretty sure people seen a swan before, but just in case. It's okay to ride a little swan boats, but you cannot eat them. They got the webbed foot. Those are used for swimming. And also I find very interesting, swans, how chickens have the fat on the outside of the meat. The swan's fat is on the inside of it to keep it buoyant, to keep it warm, so they're able to live in that aquatic lifestyle, which also is an unclean feature of animals. When their fat is on the inside of their of the meat, not on the outside. So swans do that. They have that characteristic as well. So yeah, the webbed foot, the diving of the head underwater to get its food, to get its plants, that will make it an unclean animal. So now we go to the pelican. The pelican, very wild animal. I was looking them up. Boy, crazy. So the pelican, another waterfowl. This bad boy can fly. He can fly very well. It's a very good flyer. But the thing about them, they swallow their food whole. You see that it's throwing this stingray in the sky. This bad boy's not about to see life ever again. But the thing about it, they swallow their food whole, but also they eat amphibians, they eat turtles, they eat crustaceans, they eat insects, birds, and other mammals as well. The thing about them, they swallow their food whole, but sometimes they throw them in the air, like how they're throwing this stingray in the air, and they swallow it whole. Makes them unclean. They're web-footed. Sometimes they do dive their head underwater to get it. They have this beak, this bill. Those are interchangeable words. But this animal in general is an unclean animal, the pelican. And this will be, what's the name of it? It's a crawl or a corpse. This is what the chickens have, the turkeys have. That's under their neck and extended esophagus. This is where you will be able to hold food. But this bad boy, like in Finding Nemo, he had the fish in there, but this is where they would probably scoop up the food, scoop up the fish, and bring it to their children, and then they swallow it down. So once again, the swan is a no-go. The pelican is a no-go. So now we are going to the gyre eagle. The gyre eagle. Let's get a photo of him. He look a little crazy and deranged. He is a type of vulture. Yeah, we're going to this one. This is the one. Man. Boy, that's wild. Look like he don't belong on this planet. So the gyre eagle, also known as the Egyptian vulture, they're scavengers as well. They're the vulture family. They also eat carrion. They eat decaying flesh. This is what these birds do. But these birds also eat young birds. So these vultures will actually kill things. They will eat young birds. They will eat fish eggs. They will eat fish. They will eat eggs of other birds. And also rotting fruit. And back in the Egyptian time, I guess this was Pharaoh's number one bird. It grew a nickname called Pharaoh's chicken. So Pharaoh, the man that had us, the rulers of Egypt, they had us in captivity. They will be cooking this bad boy up. That's why the Lord said, don't do the things that they do. We can't have the Pharaoh's chicken. We can't have the gyre eagle, also known as the Egyptian vulture. He looked crazy anyways with his, he got that Guy Fieri haircut. That's the guy from Triple D, Down the Drive-In and Dodge. Just to let y'all know. You know, a little fun fact. But and we're almost out of here, family. We're gonna do the last precept. Okay. So the next animal, it says, and the stork. So the stork and the heron, they are, it says the stork and the heron after her kind, and the lapwing and the bat. So the stork, they are partially webbed foot animals. But the thing about these animals, I'm just going to show you what they look like as well. Just remember, their feet are partially webbed. So these bad boys, they have long legs. So with their long legs, they wait in shallow water. This and the heron, they're both similar. They're slightly different, but their characteristics of eating and how they look, they're dang near twins. So the stork, long legs, partially webbed foot, almost like a duck foot, but not the full thing. These animals will wait in shallow water, and they will have their head like in the water, and then they will see frogs, fishes, and they will dive their head all the way into the water and get their food. That's what make them unclean, and a part of the partially webbed foot as well. They're carnivores. They also eat reptiles, small animals, and amphibians, but that's what they do. And the difference between in the footing is the heron has the two in the front, and the stork has the partially webbed foot. So that would make it unclean. That would make it the characteristic of an unclean animal, and we are not allowed to eat them. So the lapwing, very small bird, but these birds are very disgusting in nature. I've never seen one in my life, but these little bad boys, they eat earthworms, they eat leather jackets, they eat insects, they eat larvae, but they also consume animal feces. They eat, I don't know what they eat from it, but they pick food from animal feces. And I'm going to show you a video of that. But these birds they tough. I ain't going to hold you. They eat a lot of insects, but they also eat from animal feces. Anyone wondering, that's cow manure. They're grazing from cow manure, eating it, and just them eating unclean animals. But the Most High is giving us a heads up. And it's crazy that people can discredit the Most High God and say, oh, the Big Bang did this and did that. But when you look into these animals before time, people had telescopes and this and that. Like the Most High was before our time. He had the understanding of, all right, that animal's this, that animal's that. Don't have him, don't have that. All right. And he's not giving us understanding why. It's for us to search out and to get understanding. Can you read Daniel 12:4? Can you read Daniel 12:4?
Daniel 12:4?
Yeah.
Book of Daniel, chapter 12, verse 4. 225. Daniel.
And like I said, the Most High had this understanding before anybody. And he told us this without instruction. The little owl we can't eat, the cormorant we can't eat, the great owl we can't eat, the swan, the pelican, the gyre eagle, the stork, the heron, the lapwing, the bat. These animals we can't eat. He didn't give us understanding. He said just don't eat them. But now that Bring it out. I'm gonna let the precepts speak.
Daniel chapter 12, verse 4.
Uh-huh.
But thou, O Daniel, shut up the words and seal the book, even to the time of the end. Many shall run to and fro, and knowledge shall be increased.
And that's the part that I wanted. Knowledge shall be increased. We're going to be able to go to libraries. We're going to be able to have technology at the palm of our hand to look up these things, to be like, Most High, why did you say we can't eat the cormorant? Why can't we eat the great owl? They look delicious. Why can't we eat them? The Most High said knowledge shall increase. We're not supposed to eat them because these are birds of prey, because they pick off other animals. They do uncharacteristic things. They devour flesh. They're web-footed. You know, they're different. The Most High is looking out for us from the beginning of time, and people think he's punishing us by saying we can't eat a damn swan. That's mad. That's mad. But yeah. Read verse 46 and verse 47, please, in Leviticus 11.
Leviticus 11, chapter 46. This is the law of the beast and of the fowl and of every living creature that moveth in the waters, of every creature that creepeth upon the earth, to make a difference between the unclean and the clean, and between the beast that may be eaten and the beast that may not be eaten.
This is the owls. These are the birds, the animals, the fishes. These are the things that the Most High we said we can eat and we can't eat. And it's just that simple. And the Lord gave us the increase of knowledge at the end time so we can know what we can eat and what we can't eat. And I'm forever grateful. I'm glad I was able to do this lesson. And I want to give all praise, honor, and glory to the Most High God. Lord willing, everybody learn something. We can take something down from this and put it into our minds. And once again, we out in the world, we out in the desert, we out in the jungle, and you see these animals. The Most High said they are unclean to us. Now we know what they look like. Now we know why we cannot have them. Lord willing, somebody got something from this. Lord willing, everybody has a beautiful Sabbath online and in the building as well. And I want to say
something.
Yeah, go for it, King. Go for it.
It seems like the animals that are not clean, they have a purpose. Like the animals in the ocean that are not clean, they actually clean the ocean. The camel, everything about him except his feet.
Right.
And the characteristic that's different is to help him travel.
Right.
And which is his main purpose is for travel.
Right.
You know, and who are we to change the purpose of an animal and turn it into food? You know what I mean? And that's just what I saw. A lot of the characteristics, you know, even the animals that seem that they might be clean, they like a bird, an eagle,
right?
You know, they eat all unclean animals.
They eat all unclean animals. They're birds of prey. They prey on other people. They prey on other things. And it's little things like that. The Most High didn't give us that understanding. We had to go out and figure it out. But the last one, my bad, we can't skip over this. It's the bat. We're gonna go into it. I found this very funny. There's all types of bats. There's what's the name of it? There's mega bats and there's micro bats. But this one's a mega bat. This one's called the golden crown bat. This bad boy could get up to 4-5 feet long. Imagine walking out your apartment and you seeing homeboy sleeping like that. Boy, I'm not going to work that day. I ain't gonna hold you. But these bad boys, they're harmless to humans. If you consume them, you can die. But they just not going to up and attack you, you know? They be getting down. But these to me, these animals are very ugly, you know? I ain't going to sit up here in front. We ain't going to do that. Look like Jeepers Creepers, low key, but these bad boys are carnivores. They're omnivores as well. They eat fruit, they eat insects, they eat all types of animals, and they're separated from megabats to microbats. But these bats, all bats carry viruses throughout their body just because they're filthy animals. And some of the viruses they carry are the Nympha virus, the Hendra virus, the Ebola virus, the SARS, also known as the COVID-19. Exactly. So these animals, they're harmless to humans, Now I wouldn't want look at him. That's at least 4 feet. Look how big he is. Imagine that. It's nighttime. You see some 6-foot wingspan flying in the air, boy. Oh my God. They do look like rats, like vampires, like the sister said. But imagine, bro, walking out your house seeing that bad boy. I'll be terrified. I ain't gonna sit up here in front. Look at that. Yeah, man. This computer. I need to get used to it. But yeah, that's it. These animals, we're not supposed to eat them. They're unclean. They carry many viruses. They're nocturnal animals. They well shit. I seen a video of I was gonna show it, but that would have been inappropriate. But the bat was hanging down and he was, relieving himself. But it was tough. But these animals, they're unclean. They come in all types of sizes. They're mega bats and there's micro bats. They eat insects. They eat fruits. They also eat other animals. But the main thing about them, they carry a lot of diseases. No matter if you cook them down or if you fry them up, the Most High said we're not supposed to eat them. And I know people on the east side of the world, this is a delicacy for them, but not me. Not us. Excuse me, not us. Yeah, but with that, anybody have any questions? Okay. Well, once again, I want to give all praise, honor, and glory to the Most High God and His only begotten Son, Yahweh Shai. Y'all have a beautiful Sabbath. Thank you for tuning in. Lord willing, y'all learn something. And until next time, family.